Okay guys, welcome back. So the other time we talk about some tools, some languages, CSS, Python, HTML, JavaScript and the likes. So I just want to show you how they look like and some basic things you need to know before we go into them in deeply later. Okay, so HTML. So the Django HTML, you might not actually understand it, but let me see. So like this code now is an example of HTML code, but when we started with HTML you will able to do something even reasonable than this. All these things is all about creativity. The more you are creative, the more you're able to produce something significant. Okay, so but the major thing I want to tell you is that anytime you are creating HTML file, if you look at this name of this file, you can see it is add.html. So definitely every time every HTML file will end with an extension .html. Every HTML file. So maybe you want to call your HTML file Kudus, then it will be kudus.html. You want to call it solar, it will be solar.html. You want to call it bomod, it will be bomod.html. You want to call it home, it will be home.html. Same thing with CSS. So this is an example of CSS code, and you see it ends with an extension of .css. So anytime you want to write a CSS file, you definitely want to end it with .css, kudus.css, bomber.css, and index.css, home.css. It could be anything that you want to, any name that you want to give it, but it must end with that extension. It is that extension that indicate that it is CSS file. It is that .html that indicate that it's HTML file. The reason being that on the same code editor, you can write any type of code on it. You can on this same code editor, you can write HTML, you can write Java, you can write JavaScript, you can write Python, you can write PHP, you can write SQL, you can write HTML, you can write CSS, any code. You can see on this same editor, I have HTML file. The only difference is that I end it with extension.html. I have a Python file. This is the Python code, and the only difference that anytime you have Python, you end it with extension .py, that's py. So that is what will be differentiate the type of code you are writing on a particular text editor. So that same text editor that you are using, be it Sublime, be it Bracket, be it Atom, be it Partial Studio Code, be it text Notepad, be it anything, you can write any type of programming language on it. It is the extension of your file that will tell the editor the type of code you actually want to write. Okay, so CSS, Python, okay, view Python, and the structure depend on the text editor you are using and the project you are actually working on. So that's about the programming. Every programming language have their extension, but the common one are the HTML, which is .html, CSS, which is .css, Java, which is Python, which is .py. So continue like that. And let me quickly show you a sample of a JavaScript code. Actually this HTML file, but inside your HTML, you can also be writing CSS or JavaScript code inside them, and you can as well write them separately. So like this HTML file, we have JavaScript code. So everything from here, anything from where you see scripts here, all this code I highlighted, they are JavaScript code for this particular HTML. Okay, don't worry about whatever that is happened there. I'm just showing you how they look like. You will understand everything in detail as we move on. Okay, that's that. So let's continue with our introduction. Now the next thing we need to talk about is the written, clean and efficient code. You see, in most cases there's no any one special, as in one particular way that this how you must write a particular code. Is different programmer can write different, as in a function or a class or any code that perform the same function in different ways. But the most important thing is that your code should be clean enough and efficient enough. And how do you achieve that? When we get to any of this program, you'll be hearing something like variables, and variable just mean like something we use to represent a particular value. For instance, I can set kudu is equal to 50. That means kudu is a variable. So when you are using a variable like that in code, use a meaningful one, like something other programmer we also able to understand. Okay, for instance, if we look at this code, if you look at this area where I have playbook is equal to something 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 something. Okay, that playbook is equal to, it can be a variable, and liaison is a variable. Now it should be a variable that when another programmer, definitely this code is working on a particular playbook, like playbook database. So the variable should be something any other person in your team will understand what you mean, because but you might not be the only one that will be working on that particular code, and if you are using some variables that people did not understand, they might end up getting frustrated with your code, and they will not able to work together with you. Okay, so that's one of the ways to write a clean code and efficient code. Break up large code. Now look at this code. I have add.html. I have search dot search underscore playbook.html. These two code, I can merge them together to be inside same file, but I decided to split them because there are different functions in the website, so that it will make the code more clean and more easier. So that is what this aspect is trying to say, that you can break up a large code to units, so that it will be easier to manage and easier to work on. Then remove unnecessary code from your code. When it's time, you will see some unnecessary code that you can write. Let's assume you write 10 line of code, 10 line of code that perform a particular function, and that same code you can write another maybe 6 line of code that will still perform that same function. Which one you should choose? Definitely the one with lesser line of code that perform a good function, the same function without any deficiency with the 10 line of code. So instead of showing muscle, make the work more simply, remove unnecessary code. Just put all these things at the back of your mind, so that by the time we are doing all these things, we might not able to be talking about all these things again. So you should able to be record all these things and putting them in use. Okay, then you remove unnecessary code. We have talked about this is like repetition. So use comments. And what is comment? Let me show you what comment look like. You can see this area that look like green is comment. You can see that the code, they are in line from 1 2 3 downward like that. Every line of code that you write like that, they will be, and your code will run from the beginning of the line downward. So now, like this place that I put comma, you can see that this aspect is a code, but I change it to comment. So you can see the line 2, create your field here. So it's just a comment that tell us that this I want to create field in this particular area. So it's just a comment. And the way you create comment, you write comment in different language, different from each other. So this particularly for Python, you just put a narrow sign in front of the code. Then command. Then we have different variety of comments. Maybe you use comment only one line, or you want to comment many lines at a time. So it's just like a comment that you are putting, and the comment is not part of your code. It will not run with your code. It's just normal text, and it will not even appear in any part of your program, or like maybe you see it on your web page, or no. It will only appear on the text editor here. It's just like a comment that maybe you are using it to leave a note. Maybe it's useful to you, it's useful to anybody that want to check your code data, because it lets you know what you are doing at a particular time. You might forget, and another person might even be looking at your code, so that they will be able to get what you are doing. And you might also have some code that you want to use later on, but they are not yet, but you just want to write them down. Then you can put them in comment, and by the time you want them to function, you can just remove the comments. And for instance, if you look at this line 6, this code, if I want it to be active now, I can remove that narrow side. You can see that the color change now. So but if I want to comment it back, I will add the narrow side. You can see it is in comment back. So we have different situations in which we might need to use the comment in our code, but when you get there, you understand better. So use comment when necessary. Then use white space. White space are the space in which you did not write any code. You can see I have a list of package or module that I imported to this particular code I'm writing. From 3 to 5, there are program modules that I imported. Then before I start my function, I left a white space like this 8 line. In line 8, you can see that it is empty. There's nothing there. It's a white space. After that particular function, I still leave another space to create another function. You can see those are white space. They make your code look nice and clean. So I think if you understand that clearly, they will be very useful to you by the time you continue your journey in web development program. Okay, then optimizing your code. Like, you can optimize your code by written, like it's more or less like, instead of using unnecessary code, use the standard format, and that everybody will easily able to work with, and that we optimize your time. Like when you are writing unnecessary code, like you just want to show muscle that you know another way of doing things, and you end up writing many code that are not actually needed for the program. You are not optimizing your code like that. Okay, then test your code. By the time we start write code, you need to test to see. When you continue testing your code as you are writing, you will know when there is error, where you need to fix the error. Okay, that's that about the code. Then that will lead us to some of us that don't want to see all those coding thing. You want to create a website, you want to become a web developer without coding. So we also have something for you, which is developing using content management system like WordPress for web development. And it doesn't mean because it is not involve code that it is not professional. A lot of websites, many websites are built with this content management system, especially WordPress, like, and then Wiz and the likes. But I'm very sure of WordPress. A lot of standard organization also are also using WordPress for their website. So, but let's first talk about the WordPress. Then I will tell you why code is more preferable. Okay, sorry. Just so when you are working with WordPress, there are some basic things you need to have good understand about. The first thing is the theme. You'll be using theme, like choosing theme for the website that you want to develop, customize your website. And in WordPress we have a lot of plugin, and what plugin does is the functionality of your website. There is a lot of functionality. There is a lot of functionality that you even if you want to write a code for it, you might spend a lot of money for it. But on WordPress, you can easily access those plugin. You have free plugin, use plugin that you can integrate into your website to add more functionality to your website. So in simple explanation, plugin are just like application that are performing a particular function on your website, and there are many of them like that, thousands, millions of them on WordPress that you can just install on your website to perform a particular function, like maybe creating contact form, creating e-commerce, creating educational system, education management system, anything. Think of anything you can use code for. Definitely you see a plugin on WordPress that can do it for you. You just need to know the right plugin that work for the right for what you want to do, and we will definitely explain all those one in detail. Fear nothing. Optimize your website for search engine like SEO optimization. All those things, they are available on WordPress. Keep your website update. You can able to update and back up your website. Then use security plugin. I talk about the plugin like it's application that performs some function. So there are some application that perform security function, and some plugin that perform security function on WordPress that you can install on your website to make your website more secure. So almost everything that you need to write code for, you can find them on WordPress, as you can find the plugin on WordPress. And the theme is more like the beauty of your website, the build how beauty, how the structure, the look of your website, and you will definitely see different theme on the WordPress that you can use. And as well, you can upload, you can buy twins, you can see free twin theme online that you can use for your website on the WordPress. So with WordPress, with content management system, you don't need code, unless if you're a developer that you want to use some CSS or JavaScript, or you want to add some special code by yourself to the plan to your website, which is also allowed on content management system. So in order to start from the simplest to the complex, in this training program we start with, I think we should start with content management system. So with content management system, no code, and we develop a professional and beautiful website. And with that alone, even if you don't want to learn code, with that alone you can achieve the goal of this training program, like gain your financial freedom, because you can design any professional website with content management system. So it's not only WordPress. We also have something like Wiz. You'll be seeing Wiz adverts online, and Squarespace. All of them, they are content management system as well, and they have a lot of template. Like they have a ready built website that you can just edit to your taste. Did that make easier for you? Customize your website, use app and widgets and the like, optimize your websites for search engine. So they are working in similar form with WordPress. So we will just choose one or two of them so that we specialize on WordPress, because they all perform the same function. So once you understand WordPress, you're able to use Wiz or any of the other one. And the WordPress is the leading as far as I'm concerned, based on functionality and capacity and the likes. Okay, so the program is for everybody. Everybody, we have things for everybody. Either you want code or you don't want code, you you will still achieve your dream. But why I personally prefer all of us to learn the both, learn the content management and the coding aspect. The reason being that, you see, in this world, it depends on your dream. If your dream, like, if your dream is just to achieve something like average success, like average income, like normal average income, you can choose to use content management. But if your dream is to achieve something more significant, you can choose to you be as in to learn coding. Though coding is more difficult than content management, there's no dispute, there's no argument on that. Coding is difficult compared to content management system, because content management system, you don't need to write any code. It's more or less like you are using Corridor to design graphics. I can say Corridor is more complex than web doing content management system when it comes to web development. So it is content management system is very simple. Anybody can easily understand that, and even within few weeks you will become a professional web developer with WordPress, whatever. But the difference there is that this WordPress this WordPress was also developed by some people, and they did not use content management system to develop WordPress. Definitely. Now let's assume you yourself, you want to develop a site like WordPress. You want to compete with WordPress. You cannot be using WordPress to develop website and still able to compete with WordPress, because it's like you are working for an employer. It's like you are employee, you are working for an employer. But by the time you want to define your own system, you want to compete with the giant people in the market, definitely you need adequate knowledge of programming, because it's when you have adequate knowledge of programming that you can be very dynamic and create whatever you think and imagine about. And that's when you can compete with the giant in the market. See, in tech industry is very good. The reason being that you can compete with anybody. Anybody can wake up tomorrow today and compete with Facebook or Google. See, yesterday we don't have chat GBT, and today we have chat GBT. And anybody that did not have knowledge of good knowledge of programming or coding cannot develop something like ChatGPT. Now, if you compare the words, amount of words that can be generated from ChatGPT or Google itself and the like, if you compare amount of words it can be generated, you will know that it is quite different. The gap is very wide compared with the amount of words someone can generate with content management system. Yes, both of you can develop a professional website, But when we are talking about creating significant impact on this earth, you will need to learn code. And you know, the individual journey are different, but at least if you have the knowledge, even if you want to employ people, you will know what you are doing and you will know what they are doing for you. Okay, so that is my conclusion on code and not code. If you consider yourself that you cannot stress yourself beyond necessity, you can stick with content management system. But if you also think that you also want to be creating a platform that will be useful for other people, like content, some set of people create WordPress, and the WordPress is they use WordPress to make things easier. The major function of programming is to make work easier for people. So if you yourself can program something that will make work eating easier for people, definitely you are solving some problem. And when you solve problem, definitely you have a reward to make from it. Okay, so the last thing we will be talking about is the managing function control, and one of the good tools for doing that today is GitHub, and it's available online. It's a free open source platform where you can manage the fashion, control the fashion of your code, of your program. So on GitHub you can create a repository, create a repository on GitHub. You can pull your code to it, and you can control the faction of your code. You can use like when you write a code, you have you have achieved a particular level and you want to update the code. During the update, a lot of error can occur that can damage the previous code, in which the entire code will not run again. But you can prevent all this with GitHub, so that before you pull your new code to the old one, you'll have tested it, make sure that it work perfectly before you add it to the new one. And by the time you add it to the new one, even if any error occur, you can easily separate the old code from the new code, and you have your code working perfectly again. So there is a lot of things you can do on GitHub like that. By the time we started using it, you will see what it's all about. Okay, so before we end today, let me see. I want to show you something. I want to tell you something. And I want to show you something. Let me open a folder. Be Pro 7 and Pro 8. Should I save or not? I don't know. Don't save. So what I want to show you is that when you start your journey as web developer, start from simple to complex. Start from simple, as in like a very simple problem that you can solve with your skill, and that will enable you to have basic good understanding. And you need to be practice a lot. Web development is all about practicing. When you're practicing a lot, when I show you how to do one thing, you can apply that knowledge to do it in different things, so that you grab and have better understanding of that whatever we learn. Okay, so practice a lot, and when you are practice with simple thing. I just want to show you a simple thing that will practice this 8, maybe 7. Open, not 5. Wait a minute. So let me quickly run my server and see if this code will load. I don't want to show you no, not this one. The code is throwing error. Open further. Could it be too just a minute? You don't want me to show you? Nah, problem. Let me see whether it should be. Yeah, it should be somewhere here. Let's check here. Let's see if it's here. Yeah. So this is what I'm trying to tell you. You can see this project is a very simple project. Not as in when you look at it outside like this, it's a very simple one. No much email, no much picture, no menu, no anything. Very simple. But this, as simple as it is, using the same principle, the same technology that Google is using. The same thing. In Google, you can go to Google and search for something. For instance, as I want to search for phishing attack, so I can search and it will give me the list, as in the information about phishing attack, the author. You can see I input, as in, like, just rough demo information into it. So At the same time, it stands for DOS attack. You see, it's a very simple something that once you're able to achieve this, you're able to even move on to another thing. For instance, let's see, now let's go to add. You can see, for instance, we can just add rough as we have produce. Let's go assume, okay, produce, add rough information. So this information we are adding, we definitely store at the database of this program. I'm just adding any information, demo information. Then let us know we submit it. That information I've added to the database. So if you go back to the search and search for Kudus, okay, no information like that. So let's search for Kudus. You can see it bring out every information that we search from the database. It's a very simple something, and with this you can develop a very complex application from it. Same technology, same principles, same same ideology that Google is using. This program is also using. So start from simple to complex. Okay, so let us stop here for today. Thank you all for attending the program today. See you all next week. Make sure you go through the program so that you understand the introduction aspect before we dive into the real work. Thank you. See you. Love you.